Thank you for joining today's session titled Synergis, a Tech Overview and Introduction to Configuration. My name is Eric Arthur, a Channel Sales Engineer for Genetech. For today's objective, let me start by telling you a story. We have a tech, and we're going to call him Johnny number 5, and he has been sent out on site and has to get a door programmed into an access control system. And he's not had much exposure to the Genetech system. How would you feel? Panic? Or are you the type of person that says, I got this because I am the man? If you're like most people, you probably panic a little and start searching for YouTube videos, emailing a friend, but anything instead of sitting down to read the manual. Well, today I want to spend a little bit of time and give you some exposure to the Genetech access control solution called Synergis. This is just one of the 3 core products in our unified system. And by the end of the day, you will be able to configure a door, add a user, and give them access. So is everyone ready? Then let's get started. Today I'm going to walk you through 6 quick modules. At the beginning of each module, I'm going to show you how to do this in the system and then show you the slides about that information. That's a novel idea, right? Because anyone can go back and read slides. We will start by adding a door controller and then create a door in the system. Once we have done that, I will show you how to configure a schedule and an access rule, and then begin the configuration of a cardholder group. Upon that cardholder group, we will create a user and manage their credentials, and then if I've done everything right, we will have success and we will be able to open a door. Module number 1, adding a door controller. So let's add a door controller to our system. Before you begin, you will have to set up and IP address the controller you plan to add. Open the Config tool and select the Access Control task, Roles and Units. Select your Access Manager and then the Synergis Cloud link. Select the Peripherals tab. Then to add the door controller, select the green plus button at the bottom of the screen. Select the manufacturer and model of the unit. Input the IP address and select OK. Then apply the changes. Here is a high-level view. In this case, it's of Mercury hardware like I just installed. Let me briefly explain the architecture in this image. In the top left, you will see the server running Security Center and Synergis on the network communicating with the Synergis Cloud link. The Cloud link is communicating downstream to controller panels and various readers and I/O modules. Events from these devices and alarms and statuses are then communicated to the client through the network. Once you've assigned an IP address to the controller panel, you will add the unit in Config tool. Select the model, IP address, and add any other downstream panels. Once the unit and downstream panels are added, they will appear in the Peripheral tab in the Config tool based on a hierarchical order. You can configure the settings for each, including name, normally opened or normally closed states, supervised, and other attributes. Module 2, creating a door in the system. To create a door, you will need to select the Area View task. Select the area in which you want to add the door. Select Add an Entity from the bottom left of the screen and select the door as an entity type. Enter the door name and description. Select Next. Select the Alpha and Omega door sides. Select the Access Control Unit. Then the Interface module. Select Next. Review the summary and select Create. Now select the door and select the Hardware tab at the top of the screen. Select your reader, request to exit, door lock, and door sensor based on your application. Then select Apply. So what is a door? It can be more than just any physical door in Genetec. It could be any controlled barrier such as a door, turnstile, or gate. But each door is made up of something more. Found in the Hardware tab, it can include inputs, readers, door strikes, request to exit, various outputs, and other inputs. This image shows how wiring on the controller matches up with software selections. And in my case, if I get something wrong, it's usually corrected very simply from the drop-down menu. In Security Center 5.8, the system allows for door template creations in a wizard. This increased the effectiveness of an installer because they don't have to start from scratch on every door. From the door template dropdown, you can select the door by interface type. There are many built-in templates based on popular hardware manufacturers, and those you create as well. As an example, in this image, using an HID V100 template, the door in reader and door out reader, lock, and door sensors are mapped to the hardware selection in the Hardware tab. Once the door is added in the area view, under the Properties tab of that logical barrier, you can toggle the maintenance mode. You can set standard and extended grant times. Also in this tab, you can adjust relock times and trigger events such as door held and door forced events. Additional properties of a door can include various request to exit configurations, enabling visitor escort rules, or setting up a two-person rule. Module 3, how to create a schedule. To create a schedule, select the System Tasks/Schedules. Select the Add an Entity from the bottom left of the screen and Schedule as the entity type. Name the new schedule and add a description. Select Apply. Now select the Properties tab. Then select the type of schedule from the Date Coverage dropdown. Select your time coverage. Then to finish the schedule, select Apply. What is a schedule? Well, a schedule defines a set of time constraints. These time constraints can be applied to all areas of the Security Center system, not just access control. You can use these schedules to allow users log-on access or video recording. But in our time today, we are applying schedules mostly to grant access to secured areas. When creating a schedule, it is important to remember the type of schedule you are creating. In Security Center, one type of schedule can override another. In the image here, you will see the daily schedule type has the lowest priority and works its way up to the specific schedule having the highest priority. There are two main components to every schedule, and these are date coverage, and this could include daily, weekly, and any reoccurring dates. And secondly, a time coverage, whether all day or a time range. Module 4, how to create an access rule. In order to create an access rule, you will need to select the access control task / access rules. Select add an entity from the bottom left and select the access rule as your entity type. Give your rule a name and a description and select a partition if needed. Select Next. Now select the schedule you created earlier and toggle if this is a permanent or temporary schedule and select Next. Review the summary of the schedule and select Create. Select Close. Now select the access rule, and from the identity page, you can assign schedules, cardholders, and cardholder groups, as well as doors. Select and add a door, the one we created earlier. Select Apply. Select the Properties tab. In this tab, my schedule is selected and I want to grant access to cardholders. At this point, we could add a known cardholder group, but we will cover this in a later module. Access rules are linked to doors, and each access rule is made up of who has access, when they have access, and to what they have access to. As we saw in the system demonstration, access rules are created under the Access Control task on the Access Rule tab. Module 5. In this module, we're going to create a cardholder group. From the Access Control task, select Cardholders and Credentials to create a cardholder group. Add an entity and select Cardholder Group as your entity type. Name your cardholder group and add a description. In the Relationships section, select and add an access rule, the one we created earlier. Select Apply. On the Properties tab, you can assign an email address, set a security clearance level, and add cardholders, but we will add cardholders in the next module. In an access rule, we define who gains access to which door or doors. In these access rules, we name the cardholder or cardholder groups and not the individual credential. Cardholders and credentials are displayed in a hierarchical tree in the access control task. From this task, you can see partitions, cardholder groups, and the individual cardholders of those groups. Also in this view, you can see the credentials assigned to each cardholder, but we haven't gotten to the credentials yet. In this task, you can create, modify, or delete cardholders. Much of the cardholder and credential management can also be done in the Security Desk client, but for today, we're going to remain on the config tool side. Another task called cardholder management displays in a flat list individual cardholders with their pictures and cardholder groups they belong to, along with other customizable information. You can also create, modify, and delete cardholders from this task as well. It is always a good practice to assign cardholder groups to an access rule. Also, a cardholder can belong to multiple cardholder groups, and each cardholder inherits access based on belonging to one of these cardholder groups. Module 6, Credential Management. Now let's add someone to the cardholder group we just created and give them a credential. From the same access control task, we can add a cardholder to a cardholder group. Select the cardholder group, and then at the bottom of the screen, select Add Entity, but this time select the cardholder as the entity type. Input the first and last name and verify you are adding them to the correct cardholder group. Then select Next. Add an entity description. Now select Next. We will be using the default Create Credential for this cardholder now, and then select Next. Select Create a Credential automatically to use a reader or USB device to capture the card information, and then select Next. Add an entity description and select Next. Under the enrollment device, select the door or USB reader you will use. In this case, I will use a door and select the door of choice. Now I'm going to present the card. Select the discovered credential and hit Next. Review the summary and select Create. Now select Close. In the Cardholder and Credential tab of the Access Control task, we saw a hierarchical tree of partitions and cardholder groups. This is also where we will add a cardholder to a group and assign them a credential. Under the Credential Management task, we can also add, modify, or delete a credential to an existing cardholder. In this view, we can also do batch enrollments of credentials. Unused credential and cardholder expiration, also known as the use it or lose it rule, can be enforced on the cardholder or credential property areas. This rule is primarily used to reduce clutter in the system by unused cardholders and their credentials. There is also a way to run reports in the Security Desk client to list unused credentials for a period of time and display them as part of a dashboard in Security Center 5.8. Moment of truth. If we have done everything correctly, we will be able to gain access to our door. Now the moment of truth, to see if everything worked. To do this, we will open up the Security Desk client and open a monitoring task. In that monitoring task, we will monitor the door we created and see the status of the door. Now, we will present the credential we assigned to our user and see if the access to the door is granted. Great, it appears Johnny has access to the door we added to the system, and we're checking items such as the Rex and Unlock, and they appear to be working as well. So we have covered a lot today in a short amount of time. We began our time being sent on site to add a door to a Synergis access control system. In doing that, we added the controller to the system and then created a logical door and connected it to that unit. From there, we created schedules and access rules and tied them to a cardholder group, giving them access. Once we had the group, we were able to enroll a cardholder and assign them credentials. Finally, we took a deep breath and opened the door. I hope everyone has enjoyed this time and found it helpful. Please use the QR code to the left to complete a short survey and select Synergis Tech Overview as the presentation title. From the Genetech Channel Sales Engineering team, thank you, and we hope you have a great day.